Emily Siegel, thank you for being a member for 10 months. My bridge is fixed and I can leave my house. The floods in Vermont were bad. Kids are still home because camps are still canceled. Wow, that is nuts, man. At least the bridge is fixed. I know we got, oh my God, what was it? The other day we got a notification for an aerial flood, I think it was called. And I was like, what the hell is an aerial flood? And I looked it up. And it was basically the opposite of a flash flood. It's like where it just rains and rains and rains and rains until finally you end up like in the middle of a river practically. When we've been here when it's flooded in New York City, and it was actually kind of scary. One of the subway stops, I think 125th Street, filled clear up to the brim. Seriously, filled all the way up. It was crazy, like with water, because the subway stations are underground, and it filled all the way up. It was nuts, dude. It's just something you gotta see to understand. Hey, let me see if I can find a video of it. I think it was 125th Street, 6th station, filled with water. Well, this is the 6th station on 125th. Cornell student rescues a man from NYC subway tracks seconds before train arrives. You are not supposed to be down on the tracks, ever. If you drop your phone on the tracks, you call the attendant and they will put a stop to the train and get down there and get it. Have workers get it. Never, ever set foot on the tracks under any circumstances. Partly, but not entirely, because there's something called a third rail. So you can see there's a rail here if you're looking with, where I'm pointing with my mouse. And then there's a rail right here, right? And then there's a third rail right here. And that is powered. It's a powered rail, basically. It's what powers the train. And it's got some crazy thing like 50,000 volts and like 100,000 amps. I don't know. I have no idea how many, but it's a lot. If you touch it, you die, basically. It's covered with a piece of wood, but you're just not supposed to be down there under any circumstances. And so I guess some guy fell down there, and so someone jumped down to help him. There are actually, they may not have known this, these people, but there are little pockets, little holes all along each side of the subway thing here that, in this type of event, you can roll into those holes, wait for the train to pass, and then roll out. That's specifically what they're for. In fact, you can probably kind of see one right here. This is a hole where you could just roll into it. It's large enough for a human to fit. A big human, if need be. That's scary, dude. You could see the lights. That means it passed the little light. It was on its way. Scary stuff, man. Will basically roast you alive. Absolutely. The third rail, yeah. It'll roast your ass alive, and it's lights out. I've been to this station a billion times. 125th Street. I don't go there much anymore, but yeah, I've been there like 1,000 times. Let's see. Some other stations that I commonly go to. 42nd Street Station. Oh, yeah. We're looking for something specific. I'm sorry. Looking for something specific here. Looking for the 6th Street flood. You know what? We'll do NYC subway station flood. Yeah, here you go. This is what I was looking
We've
for.
seen the scene before during storms, water pouring into subway stations in New York City. But what happened yesterday at the 157th Street subway station?
I thought it was 125th Street. I guess it was 157th. That's in the Bronx.
Was alarming to see even for seasoned commuters. Look at this mess. People wading through waist-deep water. So
would not walk through standing water. Certainly not standing water that was in a subway station, dude. No way in hell. Who knows what the hell is in there, dude? Seriously, it's disgusting in subway stations.
Could this have been prevented? Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles with the story.
In your experience, have you?
That's nuts, dude. I would never. I don't care how badly I have to get somewhere. I would take a taxi. I would do any number of other things other than take this station.
57th Street Station in Washington Heights should have followed the same advice given to drivers. Turn around, don't drown.
Yes, turn around, don't drown. What the hell are these people doing? Are you kidding me?
Followed the same advice given to drivers. Turn around.
That's crazy. That is nuts. Seriously, if you survive this, is the train even running, honestly? First of all, because the train is below that, right? I mean, I've never been to the 157th Street station. I don't know how it's structured. I have to imagine the train's got to be underwater, right? And the tunnel has to be flooded too, if this is flooded. This is nuts. Do you think you're getting where you're supposed to be? Take a damn taxi, people. Splurge the $30 it costs to take a taxi rather than die.
The Thursday afternoon deluge battered many of
Look, this dude took his shoes off because he wants dry shoes when he gets out the other side. Oh my God.
New York City subway stations, unfortunately, just as ridership is beginning to increase. 3-inch-per-hour rains overwhelmed the subway pumps, filling up some stations like jugs of water.
Yeah, so here, let me just step back just a hair. This shows us exactly what this is. The one train. So this runs up the east side. I'm sorry, up the west side. 456 runs up the east side of the park. 123 runs up the west side. And 96th Street is the line for where it turns from Upper East Side to Harlem. But on the west side, Harlem is a little bit higher up. So I think, I don't know, maybe 130th Street is where Harlem starts on the west side. I'm not sure. This is either in northern Manhattan. I'm going to guess northern Manhattan. Or it's in the Bronx. Let's find out. I thought it was in the Bronx because they said 157th. But if it's on the one train, I think only the 456 goes to the Bronx. Let's look. Let's see how well I know the subway system, shall we? I wanted to pull up maps and make sure it's not going to show my location or anything. Hold on. All right, check this out. So this is maps, right? This is Manhattan. If you guys are looking here, it's at like an angle. But all of the blocks, it's a planned city. So everything is square, basically. And the park, Central Park, runs right up the center of Manhattan, right? And it's separated by east side and west side. So there's the east side, which is where the 456 train runs. And then there's the west side, which is where 123 runs. Now, the 42nd Street station was one of the first stations. And that would be right here, Times Square, 42nd Street. And it services almost every single train. Almost every train. Except 456. I don't think it services 7 either. And yeah, I think it's just 4, 5, 6, and 7 that it doesn't service. I could be wrong on some of those. To get to the 456 train, which runs up the east side, you have to take the S train from 42nd Street Station, which S stands for shuttle. Most people don't know about this. I learned about it because I was studying to be a tour guide. You'd have to take the S train, the shuttle train, from 42nd Street, Times Square Station, to Grand Central. Yeah, here you go. So, right here. This is 42nd Street Station, right here. And then Grand Central stretches just over here. So, it's gray. That's the S train. So, it goes straight by Bryant Park. This is the 42nd Street Station. This is Grand Central. So, if you want to take the 4, 5, 6, or 7 train, you basically have to get to Grand Central. So, take the S train from 42 to Grand Central. 456 will take you all the way up into the Bronx. This is the Bronx. And I think it stops all the way up here. It goes pretty high up. But the 123, you have to take the 123 from 42nd Street. Now, the 123 runs up the west side of the park here. Now let's see where 157th Street is. Is it in Manhattan? I believe it is. Oh, wow, it's clear up there. 155th, 150. Let's see. 157th Street, 1 train. Yeah, it is in Manhattan. See? 157th Street Station, right there. That's a bad area. That is not a good area. You don't want to be there. Anything north of the park, just... I mean, it's probably safe. You're probably okay. Not at night. Don't go there at night. Don't go to Washington Heights ever. Don't go to Inwood Park ever. This little tip here of Manhattan, don't do it. Ever. That's my recommendation. Don't go to Hunts Point in the Bronx. Well, anyway, yeah, there are some bad areas of the Bronx, but you got to kind of go out of your way. Most of the Bronx is perfectly safe, and it's a beautiful place. And then you got Long Island. This big-ass thing right here. This is Long Island. Part of Long Island, this part right here, this is Queens, and this is Brooklyn, if you guys didn't know. I just named the boroughs. And down here is Staten Island. Nobody considers it a borough, or even part of New York City. Here's Staten Island. Staten Island sucks. Nobody likes it. You remember that guy, Eric Garner, who was selling loose cigarettes, and the cops came, put him in a chokehold, and killed his ass in 15 seconds flat or something? He was in Staten Island. If you're curious, this is where 50 Cent was shot. Somewhere in where my mouse is, right here. In South Jamaica, Queens. So 50 Cent is shot here. Donald Trump grew up here, I believe, somewhere in where I'm circling. And so did Stephen Hassan. He grew up on the same street as Donald Trump.